Oh my goodness, picked up quite a bit of history on this next record I want to talk to you about on my fantasy playlist. A direct ad on my fantasy playlist into the top 40, inserted into the top 40 week of June 13th, 1986. Going back 30 years with Mr. Deejay, as this video is being made on June 14th, 2016. Journey, Suzanne, A Lost 45. At number 39 is from the album, their ninth studio album called Raised on Radio. They had about 4 hit singles off this album, not huge, but still a significant success. The album went double platinum, and Girl Can't Help It, that was in the fall of '86. God, that was one Journey song. I wasn't a big Journey fan. I mean, they were a great stadium band. They concocted uh, one radio-friendly record after another. They were pop meisters, combining. They did ballads and they did hard rock records like separate ways, making them really melodic. I give them credit for that. But I just flipped over "Girl Can't Help It" back in the fall of '86, particularly when Steve Perry does this little solo thing near the end of the record. Went to number 17. Or it might have been number 7. I think it's number 17. Can't read my chicken scratch. Be good to yourself. Another Journey hit off the album back in '86. That went to number 9. And I'll Be All Right Without You. That was back in early '87, I believe. Put out a single at number 14. And we got Suzanne on my fantasy playlist at number 17. And this was the first album they came out with, Raised on Radio, since Frontiers in 1983, which was a huge album for Journey. Now, 1984, Steve Perry went solo and he put out the album Street Talk, which featured Oh Sherry. Man, he almost sounded like Otis Redding. The guy was just very soulful on that record. And Foolish Heart came out off of that album as well. 2 hit singles for Steve Perry on his own in 1984. Well, here's the thing. You got to understand this. Steve Perry, he had so much fun making Street Talk. He thought about leaving Journey. Hey, man, I'm going to go solo. This is just too much fun. But then the keyboard player, Jonathan Cain, he called Steve Perry. He said, there's some songs that I'm working on. Would you like to pitch in and help out? And then when Journey reconvened and Steve Perry decided to go back into the group, when they reconvened on Raised on Radio, making Raised on Radio now, there was a massacre of sorts. Let me explain. Steve Perry, I'm assimilating all this information as much as I can so I can present it to you in a somewhat digestible manner as I'm trying to digest it myself. I love learning this stuff. But here's the deal. Steve Perry, since he proved his production chops making Street Talk, he produced the album. You know, the powers that be or the group thought that Steve Perry would be the best fit to produce this album by Journey. But there was a problem. Bass player Ross Fallari is Falory, and the drummer Steve Smith, they felt like that Steve Perry was getting too much control. They were thinking, wait a minute, we don't like these kind of songs that we're doing. And, we're not crazy about touring either. I'm not sure about the direction that Steve Perry has taken us since Steve Perry is producing the record. And now Steve Smith, he did play on several tracks on this album. They did get some royalties off the album, but there was so much pressure on them to make the album the way that Steve Perry wanted it. Play these songs the way that Steve Perry wanted it. So it comes down to this, as far as Ross Fallari and Steve Smith, the drummer, is concerned. Are we making a Steve Perry album? Are we making a second Steve Perry solo album? Or are we making a Journey album? And we're tired of touring too. Well, they either left the band or they were fired. There was some bloodletting during the making of this album. They were replaced by Randy Jackson, bass player, and Larry Lundeen on drums. Steve Perry producing this album. Now, according to Steve Perry, he tried to give as much creative control to the rest of the band members as he possibly could. His style was non-dictator. Wasn't like, hey, you're going to do this my way or else, my way or the highway. It wasn't like that, according to him. So we got this he said and whatever. You know how these things go. The tensions that develop in the group, the egos clash, and we want to do this certain style of music, and this guy wants us to do something else. Well, f that. I'm leaving the group. Something like that. Well, anyway, 4 hit singles off this album. We got Suzanne at number 17. Went to number 17 on Billboard's Hot 100, making its debut at number 39 on my fantasy playlist, June the 13th, 1986.